Disciple of Christ, I will never leave him. He is the truth and the life. He's the strength in my weakness. I will shine till the whole world sees.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's sermon preview. I'm Morgan Rich and I'm with Nick. Nick, what series are we in?
Yeah, so we are in our Be One, Make One introduction series where we are looking at our yearly theme, Be One, Make One, right? And the whole idea behind this is to be a disciple and make a disciple. So in our series, we're looking at what are different things that define what it means to be a disciple, right? What does it mean to be one? And we looked at 4 different things so far. This is our 5th week. We looked at the call of a disciple, the cost of a disciple, the heart of a disciple, and the worship of a disciple. And so this week, we're going to be looking at a passage in Luke that is going to lead us down into the conversation of the humility of a disciple. Okay, so we're going to be looking at Luke chapter 18, verses 9 through 14. And this is a teaching from Jesus, and it's a parable. Okay, so Morgan, how would you define a parable?
Yeah, so a parable is a teaching that Jesus gives. It's kind of made up, and it paints a picture for the listeners to understand and maybe wrap their minds around, but it's also kind of a take it as you want to.
Yeah, sure. So like maybe in modern terms, it's a sermon illustration, right? It's something that helps Jesus drive home the point that he's trying to teach and want his listeners to grasp, right? So he's giving this teaching, this parable, and it ends up being about humility. The first verse kind of actually gives away the whole point of the parable. But then he says that 2 men went into the temple to pray. Okay, so Morgan, who are our 2 men?
Yeah. A Pharisee and tax collector.
Yeah, so we have a Pharisee and a tax collector. If you know anything about the Pharisees, they are high class, top of society. Everybody looked up to them, could do no wrong. The tax collectors were the opposite of that, right? They were sinners. Everybody hated them, and they thought that they were people that they betrayed them because they were loyal to the Roman government, all these things. And so you have total opposites of people. Pharisee, tax collector, total opposite in society. And so they come into the temple to pray, and we see that their approach to God, their approach in prayer, is also the total opposite. As opposite as they are as people, their approach to God is also totally opposite. So the Pharisee comes in, and his prayer is full of himself, right? What are some of the elements that we see in his prayer?
Yeah, so he's super prideful. He only mentions stuff about him. Like, I do this. I am so good. I'm so glad that I'm not like this guy over here.
Exactly.
And he mentions nothing about God, actually.
Right.
So.
Yeah, he does. Okay, so I guess he does say, God, I thank you that I'm not like them. So he thanks God that he's not like them, right? That he's good enough that he is not corrupted like them. So it's really not about God at all. No. It's about himself. So he actually mentions the word I 5 times. So it's kind of these 5 I's that is really full of himself. So it's just this prideful event in which and it even says that he's standing off to a distance, like he's too good for the others. Like he doesn't want to be corrupted by being close to them. That's almost the sense that we get, right? But then we have the tax collector, right? Total opposite. What do we see in his prayer?
Yeah, it's super humble. He's saying like, God, like, please forgive me. And he's even in a posture of like being on his hands and knees and like hitting his chest, like, and just sadness almost in a way, because he knows that he's not worthy, and he knows that it's only by God's grace that he's going to receive forgiveness.
Right, exactly, right. So he has this sinner's prayer of, God, be merciful on me, a sinner, right? And there's actually some deeper understanding of the word be merciful that we'll talk about on Sunday. But we see this total difference in these 2 men. Total opposites in society, but then also total opposites in their posture, right? The Pharisee was standing, the tax collector was bowed down in this reverence, but then in how they pray, totally the opposite. So we have this kind of this extreme picture of pride, and then this extreme picture of humility, right? And what Jesus says is, he's like, who's the one that's justified here? And he points to the tax collector and says, he's the one that's justified. He's the one that's saved. He's the one that will be exalted before God, not this man that is full of himself and full of pride. And so the hope for this Sunday is that we can have a conversation about why is it important for us as followers of Jesus to approach God in humility, to live our life in humility, and avoid pride in that way. And so really excited for this. I think as we prepare or get ready for this passage, read it a couple different translations, and then think about how have you experienced humility as a follower of Jesus? Or what does humility look like for you as a disciple of Christ? Because it's going to look different for some people. Some people have different experiences within that. And so what does humility look like for you in that? So before we go, just a little bit of a shout out, not a shout out, but a promotion, I guess you could say. Morgan, what is happening this Sunday after Sunday school?
We are eating chili.
Chili, yes. Right. So it's a chili fundraiser, chili meal. Mission and Service is doing a chili fundraiser for our daycare Rainbow Years Learning Ministry to raise funds for them. And so come on Sunday ready to eat, ready to fellowship together over a good bowl of chili. So it should be a good time. Great. See you then.
I'm a disciple of Christ. I will never leave him. He is the truth and the life. He's the strength in my weakness. I will shine to